Be'ezat Hashem, na'aleh v'natzliach. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Lighthouse Project. Really excited to be part of this program. Really excited to be back here. Tonight's class is going to be part one of love and lust, hate and anger. Tonight, love and lust. I almost don't even want to do the anger class. It's like so negative, but I'm going to do it. So last week's introduction to Middot, we focused the entire class on the makeup of a human being. We spoke about the battle between the body versus the soul. Yetzer HaTov versus Yetzer Hara. The animalistic side of a human being versus the spiritual side of the human being. The Behemi versus the Ruchani. The Ge'ava versus the Anava. The pride and conceit versus the humility and humble characteristics of a man. Which helped us get an idea of the polarity that a Jew works with on a regular basis. We also got to understand that the true purpose of refining a person's character is through Torah learning, the performance of mitzvot, and ma'asim tovim, good deeds. We were able to derive from the Torah and the 613 mitzvot a single tagline for what it's all about. We mentioned the story from Hillel HaZaken and the Goy that wanted to learn the entire Torah on one leg. And we were able to get a beautiful lesson from Masechet Shabbat that said in Aramaic, De'alech hasani lechavrecha lo ta'avid. Zo hi kol haTorah. Simply put, don't do unto others what you don't want done to you. Another concept of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. And he says that the rest is just an elaboration of this concept. We also stressed out the importance of a person's personal growth through character refinement. In other words, the Hebrew word Middot, every time you hear it, Middot, that's the refinement of the character. And by upgrading one's character and by highlighting and promoting the good attributes and character traits and omitting or refining the character's deficiencies. Now, this personal work on your character, this spiritual upgrade, leads you to the highest level of serving Hashem. And also brings happiness with it. Now, since we are all created in Tselem Elokim, which basically means in the image of the Creator, the more we emulate Hashem and His character, the closer we become to being holy in our nature and character. And ultimately, that is the highest level of serving Hashem and ultimately serving as our ultimate tikkun. Tonight, we will zoom in on two of the most talked about emotions in human history. Love and hate. We'll talk about the history, the science, the emotion, the Torah's view, and the Jewish view of love and the Middot that come along with it. Before we get started, I'd like to give an honorable mention to tonight's sponsor, who is Robert Brass, in honor of Gedalia Fenster, a good friend, and in memory of his mother, Bash Bat Binyamin David Beril, Zechona Livracha, and to our Issachar and Zevulun sponsorship from DJ Acquisitions, Joseph Dornbush, good friend of ours. Be'ezat Hashem, may he merit to have all the brachot and atzachot of the Issachar and Zevulun sponsorship, and this will also be the Refuah Shelema of Menachem Mendel Ben Sarah Bat and Devorah Fega Bat Reza. And the same way that we are talking about love tonight, may all the single Jews in the world have the zechut to find their partner, find their love, and feel their ultimate tikkun in this world. Let's begin. What is love? Love is one of the most profound emotions we experience as humans. The dictionary defines love as a complex set of emotions, behaviors, and beliefs associated with strong feelings, affection, warmth, and respect for another person. Love has been a favorite topic of philosophers, poets, writers, scientists for generations, and still today, people are still trying to figure out what is love. Let's go back in time. The ancient Greeks were able to divide it to 7 different classes. They gave 7 different words to define the different states of love that we can experience. I'll read them and then I'll explain them. Storage, philia, eros, agape, ludus, pragma, and philosia. Okay, let's go to the basic one, storage. That's natural affection. That's like a basic love, you would call it. Beginner level. Philia is a friendship. It's more interactive. When you start having interactions with another human being, you start to develop love. Eros is sexual and erotica. Okay, we can understand that. Agape is unconditional divine love. That's the good love. That's the one we want. Then there's ludus. That's flirting. Okay, we know what that is. Then there's pragma. It's a committed, married love. That's the love that we all strive for. That's the one we really want. And philosia is self-love. Now, self-love at times is healthy, and at times is unhealthy. It's good to love yourself. It's good to wake up in the morning and take a shower and get dressed and look good and take care of yourself and eat healthy and do all the things that serve you. Self-love is unhealthy when it becomes too much, when you become conceited, self-centered, and all you care about is yourself. So you can see that back in the days, thousands of years ago, Greeks were already trying to deal with the concept of love. More recently, Google has reported that the most searched phrase for the year of 2012 and on, practically, is, what is love? People are still searching. They're still looking for what is love. People are still trying to figure it out. Now, there are many theories of physicists, psychotherapists, philosophers, novelists, even retailers, etc., etc. Everyone's trying to figure out love. It's a long list of people that take on love and how to describe the emotion and all that comes with it. See, love is a variety of different feelings, state of mind, or attitude that stem from an interpersonal affection to another human being, another animal, some principles, inanimate objects, and even religion and God. In other words, love touches a lot of different things. It's a wide spectrum that love touches. And if we look at society today, we are consumed by the concept of love. Love at home. We want love from our family, from our husbands, from our wife, from our children. Everybody wants love. We want love from our friends, whether they're colleagues, acquaintances, lifelong friends. We need that love from the people that are close to us. We need love from our love interests, for all the single people in the room or out there in the world. They want to be loved by the opposite sex. And then you see all the advertising that's out there. I love New York, Heart Radio, show your love with chocolate, show your love with diamonds, show your love with cars, show your love with fidget spinners. I don't know, love, love, love. Everybody wants to get love. And the expression of love has become the source of a billion-dollar industry. Billions of dollars industry. I'm lowballing it. And that's around the planet. People are banking on love. Whether it's jewelry, flowers, chocolate, clothing, restaurants, love is everywhere. It's not just a human feeling or human emotion. it's become a product.
There's a song, All You Need Is Love.
Yeah?
You remember that? Mm-hmm.
However, love is mostly found in the age-old search for a partner in life. The search for your soulmate, your other half, the person you will love for the rest of your life, is the most common search for love. And in this search is where it gets the most interesting. Because in this search, 90% of the planet falls for the same ploy. See, in the search for love, there's an initial animalistic attraction, which is primal and necessary, and it's also known as lust. And many people live in this zone practically their entire life. And there's a big difference between lust and love. Let's go into it. Lust is a temporary desire fueled by an increased release of testosterone and estrogen. That's the science. The dictionary defines lust as intense or unrestrained sexual craving or an overwhelming desire. You see, lust has its focus on pleasing oneself and often leads to unwholesome actions to fulfill one's desires with no regard to the consequence. In other words, it's the heat of the moment. Love, on the other hand, nowadays, is a culmination of two people coming to the peak of their desire of one another and are committed to share a life together based on a willingness to prioritize another's well-being and happiness above your own, a commitment to helping, respecting, and caring for each other, an extreme feeling of attachment and affection and need, and typically, that is the feeling that leads to the wedding night and marriage. In other words, lust sometimes is what brings you to love. Some people don't make it past lust. However, most married couples will tell you that it's all downhill from there. Because reigniting that initial spark is a practice necessary to keep marriage fresh and alive. And for committed couples, it's a secret to success. But for everyone else, it's a lot of work that unfortunately does not want to get done. See, most couples chase that beginning feeling. That beginning spark that their whole life they're searching for it and they're not able to achieve it. And many fight over it, and many get depressed over it, and many get divorced over it. The statistics are crazy in the United States. It's a bunch of lost couples looking for the initial spark and not finding it. So, what is the Jewish take on love? Just got a nice idea of what the Greeks think, Google thinks, what a lot of philosophers and psychiatrists take on it. But what's the Jewish take on love? Let's start with the word love. The word love in Hebrew is ahava. In the Hebrew language, there's always a root word that gets conjugated 20 different ways to mean 20 different ways that you can understand that word: past, present, future. Ahava, you can't conjugate it, but the root word comes from the word hav. Hey bet, hav, which means to give. The root word of ahava is to give, hav. In Judaism, in order for love to be real love, it has to be expressed as an action. which is way different from the definition of love as an abstract thought or a feeling or a concept. Rather, it's an action towards another person that brings out loving feelings and not expecting anything in return. Just give. That's the Jewish way to love. Action. And don't give. And don't expect anything in return. As we previously learned in our previous classes, I mentioned Pirkei Avot. There was a very special Mishnah. It read, Kol ahava sheitluya badavar, batel hadavar. Batla ahava. V'she'eno tluya badavar, ena betela le'olam. Literally, it means any love that is connected to something, once that thing goes away, so does the love go away. Something that is not connected to something, or a love that is not connected to something, will never get canceled out forever and ever. In other words, any love that is tied to a condition will not last. Unconditional love will last forever. That's a famous Mishnah. I'll give you two examples. Beauty and money. You often hear guys say, I love her because she's gorgeous. But what happens when she becomes ugly? He doesn't love her anymore. The condition was her beauty. How many girls say, I love him because he's going to take care of me. He takes care of me. But what happens when that money runs out and he can't take care of you? She doesn't love him anymore because he can't take care of her. That's something that's tied to something. That love will never last. It's conditional. His condition is her beauty. Her condition is his money. Very, very common nowadays, not just in the Jewish world or the secular world, but in the world in general. I've never thought I'd see so many 70-year-olds with 20 or 30-year-olds in my life. It's not an epidemic anymore. It's a trend. I get grossed out from the girl. I feel bad for the guy. He worked so hard. It's like he sees getting used, but it seems like most of the time they don't mind getting used.
Yeah, why feel bad for the guy? He knows it.
No. Because I wish for him to have a better life. That maybe was like more fulfilled, more spiritual, more in a family. At that age, instead of being at a restaurant with a shirt open and a 20-year-old, maybe you should be at home with an open Gemara and a couple of grandchildren. He's like talking, I don't know. I have a different view of how a person should be at 70. But I totally understand it. I recognize it. I see it around me. And I think it's sad. It's a sign of the times. Let's take a look at Jewish relationships. We just highlighted a typical relationship that we see around us today in 2017. Let's take a look at some Jewish relationships. And let's see the differences in thought and action and how Middot, the character traits, the attributes of people, play into all of this. See, typically, Jewish matchmaking, or shidduchim, we tried to do this a few minutes ago, does not focus on people's feelings. It does not give importance to the person's feelings for one another.
Repeat that last sentence again.
Typically, Jewish matchmaking, or shidduchim, putting a boy and a girl together to get married, does not focus on the couple's feelings for one another, but rather on the couple's parents or relatives that intellectually research if the proposed couple is compatible through their Middot, through their character traits, through their attributes, through their virtues. Is he kind? Is he caring? Is he studious? Is he charitable? Is he spiritual? They look for the characters. At a close look at this concept, you can notice several things. Anyone who doesn't follow this route falls into the lust and wanderlust trap. Let's go back into lust. It's temporary and it fades. Lust is the root of many addictions. People lust after sex, food, people, whatever they see with their eyes, it's not limited to human beings. You can lust other things other than people. Lust also causes spiritual failure. It hinders you from moving forward in your spirituality. Wanderlust is an interesting word. When I first came across it many years ago, I realized that I was in wanderlust in my life, because I had that type of character trait in me. It's excitement that dissipates. It's like a firecracker or a sparkler syndrome. Do you ever light a sparkler? Sparkle, 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 out. That was me. It's like a big start with no finish. I would love to start something. It would be like all about the beginning, but there would never be an end to it. It's like those people that get excited at the beginning of an idea, of a thought, of a business, of a relationship, and then everything just dies out. There's no better example than that little sparkle. So bright, so excited, and then it just goes. And wanderlust is the similar behavior in relationships. A lot of people act like that in relationships. They get so excited in the beginning. Everything it's going to be golden. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be sparkly. And then everything dissipates. And those are two things that people fall for in relationships: lust and wanderlust. Now, should you make it past the lusting stage, then you begin the so-called in love period, where for an X amount of time, the couple enjoys each other's company and emotional connection past the bedroom. And this connection has many layers of trust, needs, wants, pleasures, and pains, and it all comes to a head, typically, with marriage. In other words, they were able to get past that whole animalistic connection that brought them together, which, by the way, is important. You gotta be attracted to the person you're gonna be with. But once you get past that, and you start interacting with one another, then you start having all these experiences. And it seems like that the peak of all relationships is the wedding day. It's like one big journey with emotional highs and lows, good and bad, experiences, dreams, hopes, aspirations that get a big party, the wedding day, almost like a graduation day to the relationship. And typically it's all downhill from there. The US has a divorce rate of over 50% for 2017. That means that 1 out of 2 people make it out of this ride. Is it all true? The question is why? Why? The answer is because typically the entire relationship has been already lived out before marriage. You already lived out your entire relationship before you got married. You did it all. It's like being on the express track of pleasures and desires fulfilled prior to the wedding, blinding you to the real person on the other end of that joyride. It's very easy to be dizzied for 2-3 years. I can take anybody on for 2-3 years, put him next to me, and start traveling and go to dinners and go to amusement parks, and go to the park and go to the beach. I can stay busy for 2-3 years and not get sick of that person and not even notice their flaws. You know why? Because we're busy having a good time. The world is a huge playground. You get married, what happens? Okay, we're done. Settling down. You settle down, you look to the left. I didn't know that's who you really are. We're too busy having a good time. So easy to have a good time nowadays. Because again, we don't shut off the mind for a minute to think about important things. Now that all the fun has been had, after the wedding, what's left? It's 2 people that might or might not be compatible. Seems like the entire country is taking this 50-50 crapshoot. This gamble on life, this gamble on marriage. It's gamble and the fallout and the aftermath involving finances, children, and broken hearts. In short, love reaches its peak before marriage and then declines and deteriorates because of the blinding senses of love prior to marriage. It's a hoax. Now, the total opposite of that is the Jewish marriage. The Jewish marriage sets up two people who have similar midot, similar interests. They're God-fearing. They will use the Torah as the guide to their marriage and life. And they find themselves under the chuppah with their whole life in front of them. Their whole life ready to be lived. It's the beauty of growing in love with a person your entire life. All is new, all is fresh, all the time. All the fun is to be had. And all of this is under the guide and protection of Jewish thought and Jewish law, halachot. Think about it. They have similar interests. They have similar values. The ones that are smarter than them and have more experience than them did the legwork. They put them together. They're compatible. And now, all they have to do is go on their first date, and their first dinner, and their first vacation, and their first, everything's a first. Their marriage is one big first. They have something to look forward to.
So their first date is after the wedding?
First married date. Which I know they date before. I'm saying, the reason why I'm so awed by this, because I didn't go this route. Thank God I got lucky. Thank God. Thank God for my wife. I love you, babe. Thank God. But I just want to say, what a great way to start life. What a great way to start life.
New chapter.
Not only that, the right chapter. No mistakes, no rolling the dice. Maybe yes, maybe no. Not carving out 5 to 10 years. Oh, what a mistake. Press reset. And maybe press reset again. And maybe press reset again. There's a rabbi in Israel called Rav Kavas, who recently said, give me 2 God-fearing Jews off the street and put the Torah into their life. They will end up being a perfect match. He trusts the system so much, the Torah, the values, everything that's in the book so much, and he says you can literally take a boy and a girl off the street, put a Torah between them, they'll have a happy life. There's a Gemara in Yevamot, talks about Shammai and Hillel. These were 2 different schools of thinking, 2 different schools of Torah. It says over there, Lo nimneu bet Shammai milisa nashim mibet Hillel. The house of Shammai did not stop their children from marrying from the house of Hillel. Now keep in mind, these are 2 polar opposites. They're constantly at odds over different opinions, which typically makes people not want to connect with one another. But for Torah, it's allowed. They would allow their children to marry someone from the opposite way of thinking. To teach you, because the Jewish people have a lot of love and a lot of camaraderie, and they wanted to commit to perform ha'emet v'shalom, the truth and peace will always be lived together. So look at this. 2 different schools of thinking, but because they trusted the Torah, they trusted the good midot in their children, they said, no, not a problem. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go with Bet Shammai. Go with Bet Hillel. You were just saying, she didn't like me. He liked me. He didn't like Bet Shammai. That doesn't matter. I don't like him. To God-fearing, Torah loving? Have my daughter. See, in Judaism, marriage is the root and source to love that develops and grows. That's the formula. In Judaism, the love, the way it's set up, is to grow. Never become stale, never become stagnant, and never go back. See, the marriage to the Goyim equals game over. Marriage to the Yehudim is game on. And just to let you know, there's t-shirts that show bride and a groom with a sign that says game over. When I saw it, I was like, really? Because that's the thinking. Someone had that thought when he printed that t-shirt. There's a bride and a groom, and on the bottom it says game over. Because that's right. It's a true feeling. Game over. The games are done. Now you have to sit down and look at the other person and discover what you got into. Now, a person with refined character has the power to be compatible with a broader spectrum of soulmates and be able to benefit from a life of growing and nurturing love. Now, a broad spectrum of soulmates? Isn't there just one soulmate? You mean if I'm working on my character, if I'm becoming a better version of myself, now I have a menu of soulmates that I can choose from? How does that work? It doesn't say soulmates. It's your soulmate. Okay. What is a soulmate? Very, very interesting. Yes, there is only one soulmate. And no, there isn't only one soulmate. This is the way it starts. You and your soulmate are in the heavens as one. You get split up into two, and you both go down this soul pipe into this earth. Maybe the man goes first, and then the woman goes second. He's in Brooklyn, New York. She's in London, England. Go find each other. Now, they say that it's harder for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to put two people together. It's harder for him than Kriyat Yam Suf. Harder for him than the splitting of the sea. So the question right away is, there's nothing hard for Hashem. Why would it be hard for him? Even the splitting of the sea is not hard for him. Why would it be so hard for him to put two people together? But that claim is out there, that it's harder for Hashem, harder than splitting of the sea, to put a couple together. Okay, let's look into it. See, if you just look at it logistically, he's in Brooklyn, she's in London. We need to make something happen in order for these two to cross roads. In other words, his best friend in Brooklyn is getting married. And his sister went to school with the girl in London. And she invited her to the wedding. And she's flying over. And he's maybe going to come to the wedding, maybe he's not. He came to the wedding. He's maybe going to sit on table 25 or table 27, but on the way to the table, he went to the bar to get a glass of seltzer. And wouldn't you know it, he bumps into her. Oh, wow, yeah, all this had to happen in order for them to meet. Yeah, logistically. But there's a deeper side to a soulmate. A soulmate is when you are in the Shamayim, spiritually, you are on the same level. When you came down that pipe and started to live life, there's two ways you can go. We have free will. One way, you went in the way of Torah, mitzvot, maasim tovim, and you upgraded yourself. You start working on your character, and your Middot, and you're becoming a much better version of yourself. She ended up going to the nightlife clubs, drinking, tattoos, smoking, and now when you're meeting her at the bar in Brooklyn, you know what happens? You're not compatible. You're here, she's here. Even though you were in the Shamayim, over there, spiritually, you were one. Now you're not. Let's reverse it. Let's just say that right now, she's getting more religious, she's keeping Shabbat, she's keeping tzniut, she wants to get married, she wants to have children. But the guy took the wrong turn. Now he's a crook in business, he doesn't keep Shabbat, He's emulating a goyish lifestyle, and all of a sudden, she's on a higher level than him. Then what happens? Are they doomed to never get married because their soulmate doesn't match them anymore? No. There's another Jew that is at that level, and now he's your soulmate. There's another girl that's at your level, and she's your soulmate. In other words, finding your soulmate is finding who's on your spiritual level at the time of where you're at and making that happen. That is harder than the splitting of the sea. So when people tell me, oh, the market is dry, there's nobody out there for me. Can't meet anyone. There's no good girls over there. There's no good guys out there. Well, according to the level that you're on, that's the zivug that you get. In other words, upgrade yourself, you'll upgrade your shidduch. If you're not happy with the girls you're meeting, work on yourself, and Hashem will bring you the one that's, if you're reaching for the stars, come as a star, and He'll give it to you. That's the soulmate. Now, for the one that meets the soulmate from the Shamayim here on earth, and they're both on a high spiritual level, wow. Wow. I've heard about those. 50 years together, still smiling, still into it, still respectful, have, fought once in 1932, like one of those guys. They're out there. They know how to do it. But for those that are not finding their soulmate from the Shamayim, have to understand that they have a broader spectrum of soulmates when they upgrade their character traits, when they have better attributes. I want to tell you a small story about a wedding cake. This girl came to a rabbi and said, Rabbi, life is boring. Finding a man is boring. Being married is boring. I can't enjoy life anymore. So the rabbi asked her a few questions about her past, about her present, and he was able to give her a beautiful parable. The rabbi replies, you had a big wedding cake in your fridge, and it was waiting for you. It was waiting for your wedding day. And the problem is that you couldn't wait for your wedding day. So delicious. Big cake, bunch of layers, cream, cherries on top, chocolate shavings. And every day, she'd open the fridge, and she'd take a little lick, take a little cherry. And every day she'd come and take a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. Take a little bit more of the icing, another piece of chocolate. Until one day there was nothing left except for the sponge of the cake. When the wedding day came, the wedding cake was dry. No icing, no cherries, no chocolate shavings. Not exactly what you think a wedding cake was. And the rabbi told her, that's your life. You are that wedding cake. Instead of waiting for your marriage to enjoy life, before marriage, you stole all the pleasures of life. You went and you dated a lot of guys, and you slept with a lot of guys, and you went on a lot of vacations, and you ate all the foods, and you went and you took all the fun and all the enjoyment that you're supposed to have during your lifetime before you got married. You took all the icing off the cake. Now you're left with a dry sponge cake for a life. Now life is black. See, had you done things properly, life would be amazing. You stole life's good times early. Now life is bland. So you have to be smart in life. in order to enjoy life and to enjoy every stage of life. See, many teens today, or many people that are in their 20s and 30s, they're on this like live fast, die young mentality. They're eating up the world. They're eating up the world. There's not one thing that they want to leave behind. They want to do everything now. They're not pacing themselves. Crash and burn syndrome coming up.
It's called getting it out of your system.
Yeah. At 40s, 50s, and 60s,
And then what?
they got to leave some life to be lived. 40s, 50s, and 60s, then you find that you find a lot of people searching for themselves. You have to have tact in life. You have to know what's age appropriate. You have to know what's the road in life. And you can see that nowadays a lot of people are on the fast track. And while they're doing that, they're racking up so many sins along the way. Sometimes it's hard to come back from that. Sometimes the spirit is so damaged. So you could imagine it's like a white sheet that's not only black now, but it's got holes and tears. It's like, sometimes there's no way back, unfortunately. Thank God for tshuva. Thank God that a person can come back to Torah life, and Torah will give him back chayut. Torah can give you back your life, can give you back your chayut. Thank God for tshuva. I have to say, thank God for tshuva. I'm telling you, thank God for tshuva. Okay, that's people. That's human beings. But what about God in love? See, every day we sing Shema Yisrael. We say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and it's followed by Ve'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavecha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol meodecha. Right? It says that you have to love Hashem. It's a commandment. Love Hashem with all your hearts. Why hearts? We only have one heart. So they say your hearts, meaning the heart that says Yetzirah Tov and Yetzirah Ra, because your heart's always with a battle to do good and bad. B'chol nafshecha, with all your soul. B'chol meodecha, with all your money, with all your finances. In other words, don't separate it. Don't say, you know what, I love God in shul, but to buy a new tzitzit, I'd rather buy that $20, use that $20 for a good burger. Buy a new suit for the holiday, I got one from 3 years ago, that's fine. But the question is not that. The question is, how can you be commanded to feel a feeling? It's either you feel it or you don't, right? How do you command to love God? I think we spoke about this one time. Great answer coming up. Our tradition teaches us that we are not ordered to feel a feeling in an abstract sense. In other words, love God as a feeling. No. Rather, the command is for us to behave lovingly. Ve'ahavta, the word ve'ahavta, which translates to love, is not the abstract thought that we have that we to love God. You're commanded to love. No. It means you shall perform acts of love. Remember, the Jewish way to love is to act, to do. It's an action. Love is an action. It's not a thought. This is the true test of love. Actions, deeds, and performance. Because feelings can be deceptive. Sometimes love may in fact be another emotion masked as love. So the true answer to the question of what is love is, do I perform acts of love for my beloved? And does my beloved perform acts of love for me? It's performing an act of love. It's not a word, it's not a thought, it's not a feeling, it's an act. In Judaism, love is an action. Now, the love for God needs to be unconditional. We were talking about love that is conditional and unconditional. Love for God has to be unconditional. You want to love God, and not expect anything in return. Even after you pray, even after you give tzedakah, even after you do chesed, even after you do all the self-sacrifice, even after you fast for 7 days straight, no matter what you do, don't expect anything back. They say that's when you will feel v'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. When you do it without expecting anything in return, you're going to start to feel the love for God. However, when you do receive, it strengthens the love. Because in reality, as a Jew, you're just doing your duty, keeping the Taryag mitzvot. It's your job to keep the mitzvot. As a Jew, it's our job to do mitzvot. We don't do it in order to receive something. However, when you get something in return, it's a bonus. It's truly a reward. It's not expected. And you know, when you get something that's not expected, it feels so good. I'm going to say that today, this week, I expected something that I prayed for so hard, and I got it. But I got way more. I got 3 times more of what I prayed for. And I remember the feeling that I got. God bless. I had such a strong feeling that I said to myself, God, I'm so thankful right now that you feel almost like embarrassed. Like you know that even your thank you is not enough. And I just right away felt like I wanted to do something towards Hashem, and I felt the love. Because I prayed and I prepared for both. I prepared for it happening. I prepared for it not to happen. It's been a long time, and I'm waiting. And all of a sudden, I got that call, and it happened. But it then happened on a much bigger level, on a much higher level. And that's what I'm talking about over here. When you get a reward, it's truly a reward. It's a real feeling, and it develops an emotion towards Hashem. And that emotion is love. Because I gave an action. I did whatever I did as an action. And Hashem did not have to give me anything in return. But I just felt what I just spoke about. Common sense says, wouldn't you love whatever it is that's keeping you alive? The air that you breathe. The air that you breathe, the soul that's inside of you, everything that is you is from Hashem. Wouldn't it be just common sense? Yeah, of course I love him. He's keeping me alive. Isn't it that simple? Does it have to be so complicated? Does he really have to do something for me in order for me to love him? No. Hashem needs unconditional love. I just love you for being Hashem. You know, kids, they love their parents because they take care of them and they do everything for them. So when you look at your kids and your kids love you, you're like, oh, you get such a good feeling when the kids behave and they do what you want them to, when they're doing what you want them to do. You get such a good feeling. And you just have to do the same thing. You just have to look up and say, Hashem, I want to make you feel the same way. The same way that my kids are making me feel good right now, I want to make you feel good right now. And they're making me feel good by actions. They're cleaning up their room. Or they're studying. They're doing some sort of action that's making me feel good. I want to do the same. It's like sometimes you can learn from your children. It's like you want to see what? God, I want to be a good kid to you. It's common sense, but we take it for granted. It's almost we feel like when Hashem's good to me, that's when I'll be religious. When Hashem takes care of my bank account, or God forbid a sickness, or God forbid when my son gets married, when my business takes off, when I write that book, when I climb that mountain, that's when, it's conditional. So what's the difference between the love of people and the love of God? There's a darshan, Emunot V'Deot. There's a darshan over there that says that Hashem split people like a ball. 2 halves. That once combined, they become whole. We just spoke about that in the Shamayim. 2 halves, right? So the rabbi here is saying, it's like a ball, he split us up. So when the other person finds that other half, he yearns for her, he desires her. It's like, it makes sense, there's my other half, I feel it. And the person starts the whole journey of love that we just discussed earlier. The Chidush, the rabbi from Emunot Middot says, is that the reason that love is in the world is to teach us how to love another person. And in turn, we can love Hashem. Understand this. Hashem has given me my wife so I can learn how to love her. And by learning how to love her, I can in turn learn how to love Hashem. It's a tool. We as humans use each other as tools to learn how to love. And in that, it's like, you learn over here, you turn your head up, now I understand how to love you. My wife taught me how to love you. My kid taught me how to love you. My friend taught me how to love you. Every time you experience love in different ways, it's just another way to, as soon as you experience that love, turn your head up and like, now I'm going to learn how to love you that way too. That was so interesting because you were thinking it's two separate things. It's not. It's a tool. We're all tools. It's funny saying that, but it's true. We all learn how to love through each other, and then the next step, pick your head up. Now I'm going to love you like that. See, by loving another person, we learn how to love Hashem. And the Taryag mitzvot are the tools that help us achieve that with that love with Hashem. You know, you don't, besides learning how to love by looking at another human being and learning love, we got a manual. There's a manual. There's 613 mitzvot. Every time you perform a mitzvah, if you really get past the mechanics and the robotics of it, and if you really connect to with the spiritual thing of it, you know, sometimes it's good to take one mitzvah and spend 6 months on it until you get it. By the time you get it, you'll be able to connect to Hashem. There's 613 ways to connect to Hashem. Just to let you know, 613 is Taryag. Nowadays, we have less than 200 that we can perform. They say on a regular basis, there's only like maybe 70 to 90 mitzvot that are relevant. Because most of the other mitzvot are tied to Beit HaMikdash, some are to Kohanim, some are things that we can't perform. Some people can do Brit Milah, some people can't do Brit Milah, some people get divorced, some people don't get divorced. There's some mitzvot that are not for everyone. But in reality, it's not 613. I mean, they're out there and gladly will perform all of them. But in reality, the rabbis deduced that it's only about 70 to 90 that pertain to our everyday. It's not that heavy. It's not that heavy. You know, for those who go to shul in the morning and pray shacharit, the first thing we say when we start to pray shacharit, you open up the book, and it says, "Hareini mekabel alai mitzvat aseh shel ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha." The first thing that we say before we start praying, it says, "I accept upon myself a mitzvat aseh, a positive commandment, to love my fellow Jew." We start our day ready to love another Jew unconditionally. That's a godly characteristic. Think about it. How many times have you opened up a siddur and you read that? Did you know that that's the first thing that you do when you pray? That you open up your heart to love another Jew unconditionally? That the first concept in our prayer is love? How interesting is that? Look how many times you can open up that book and still not know the first line in it. There's a famous song. You know, man and God is actually one thing. There's a famous song out there. It's a reggae song. You guys, maybe the young people, you know, one love, one love, one love. You know that song? The Goyim?
Us old people know that song too.
Oh yeah?
I think it's from the 70s.
Is it?
That's a good song, Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's an old song. Sorry, guys.
It's a good song.
So, okay, well, one love. What is he singing about? Does Bob Marley knows what one love is? I'm going to blow your mind right now. One in Hebrew is echad. Love in Hebrew is ahava. Ahava and echad is a translation of one love. The gematria of echad, the numerical value of the word echad, we'll do together, is aleph, chet, dalet. Aleph is 1, chet is 8, dalet is 4. Altogether, 13. Ahava is aleph, hey, bet, hey. Aleph is 1, hey is 5, bet is 2, hey is 5. Put them all together, is 13. 13 and 13 is 26. 26 is Shem Hashem. One love is Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's God. That's what's going on over there. He's singing one love. He's talking about the combination of man and God. That's the one love. When humanity and spirituality become one. That's the one love that everyone is reaching for. It's all love. You need to feel like you are on this planet to spread love all over the world. I know I sound like a hippie right now, but you have to understand that once you discover love as being unconditional, and as Jews we understand it's just to give, not to receive, then what do you do? You go, you spread it. You go. That's how Jews love. So spread love all over the world. Jewish love. Unconditional love. And do it properly, in proper times. And don't copy the Goyim. Their road to happiness is typically ends in disappointment, depression, and a big void. Their statistics is 1 out of 2 doesn't make it out of that journey. There's no reason to copy them. There's no reason to read those books, watch those shows, believe those movies. It's not true. It's all fake. People are living a hoax. You want to tap into your real successful version of you? Try the Jewish version of you. See what happens when you apply Judaism to your life. The Goyim are on a crash and burn syndrome. It's like, pedal to the metal, 100 miles an hour. Let's see if we make it. Action speaks louder than words. That's Jewish love. The action is the love. Not the words, not the thought, not the feeling. Now, a couple of good tips. A couple of good tips about love. And we're done. Just give and don't expect anything in return. Just give. So hard. It's hard because we've been programmed otherwise. I love you if you love me. But just give and don't expect in return. You know what? You can always do an experiment. Try it for 30 days. Try it for 6 months. See what you get out of it. Don't pay attention to the other person. See what happens when you just give. See what you discover about yourself. It doesn't always have to be about the other person. You could always also have a self-journey, trying to find love for yourself and to others. In our first class here, we learned about ahava v'chesed. That word love came up in the first class. And we said that a person wants to get love. What activates love is chesed. Chesed is benevolence, kindness, being good to each other. In other words, you want your wife to love you? Help her out. When you come through the door, don't tell her, why is the house a mess? Why isn't the dinner ready? Well, pick up a broom and sweep. Pick up the kids and wash them. She needs something from the store, you go. Help. The more you help, the more it's going to create love in her heart for you. Help your friend. Your friend is down and out, give him some good advice. He's broke, give him some money. He's moving, help him move. Do something, action. He'll love you. He'll create love. Sometimes the chesed that you do doesn't even have to be with people that you know. Help somebody that doesn't know who you are. It also creates love. It spreads love all over the world. Putting that positive vibe on the planet without getting credit. You're behind the scenes. God loves that. Rabbi Nachman from Breslev has a book that I like to read in Sefer Middot. He says garlic helps love and eradicates jealousy. I thought that was very interesting, because garlic usually pushes away your partner or pushes away love. He says when you eat garlic, it helps, cancel out jealousy and brings on love. Interesting. Since we're on food, I have to mention pat shel shachrit. Pat shel shachrit is not wake and bake. It's not smoking weed in the morning. Pat shel shachrit. It's not that. Pat is bread. Shachrit is in the morning. There's a huge thing, a huge secret of eating bread in the morning. The rabbis tell us that the body creates black bile that goes through the body, and if you eat bread in the morning, it will cancel out this black bile that typically causes melancholy, depression, all these bad things for the body. And eating bread in the morning and saying Birkat HaMazon cancels out about 90 diseases, saves you from getting sick, and helps your wife love you more. This is a Gemara, and if you open up any proper Siddur, in the back, it says a whole thing about Pat shel shachrit, like right after you finish praying, study this, eat this. Try to eat bread in the morning, say Birkat HaMazon, your wife will love you. And there's more. If you read about the benefits of what bread does in the morning, unbelievable. Not just your wife loving you.
And it's not just fiber, it's bread.
It's bread. They say they are a little lenient about mezonot. In other words, if you can eat something that's mezonot it's the same, a little bit. I think that the whole idea is also to say Birkat HaMazon. There's a big secret of saying Birkat HaMazon in the morning. More tips for love. Strive to constantly give nachat to each other. In other words, if you're already in a relationship, if you're already married, nachat is when you give somebody that feeling, oh, he's great, she's great. Try to give that feeling over and over and over and over again.
Like praise?
Praise, nachat, comfort, giving them not just a sense of comfort, but a sense of... how do you explain nachat? Nachat ruach. It's just a way of a person feeling comfortable and happy and at ease because things are right. That's nachat. We often bless people to have nachat from their children. So strive to constantly give nachat to your partner. And when demands come into the picture of one another, do this, do that, I want this, I want that, know that happiness and bliss has gone out the window. That's it. As soon as you start demanding of one another, there's no more love. It's like the anti-love venom. When you try to please, nachat, and just give, love will be flowing all the time. Be a giver, not a taker. Be a facilitator, not a hindrance. And Torah will teach you love. May Hashem bless you all with an abundance of love. Spiritual love. Love felt in the mind and heart. Love that leads to fulfillment and happiness in the gashmiut and the ruchaniut. In other words, body, mind, and soul. Be happy in all three. And be one of the ones that's spreading love all over the world. Be that guy, be that girl. Thank you so much for coming to the class. I really appreciate it.